Welcome to my live stream. It's Saturday night. And it's not a race weekend. So we won't be distracted. Okay, and that's my live stream on. So I can see the chat. Okay. Hello, everybody. There we are. How is everybody doing? Is everybody enjoying this not race weekend? I didn't really have a topic to talk about, so we're just gonna have, some random topics. Anything you can bring up, we'll discuss. I'm sure we'll talk about Massa and his court case, and we'll talk about Lewis Hamilton, how he might not be driving for Ferrari anymore in 2027. We can talk about what else? What else was big news? Hey, Samantha. How you doing? So yeah, let's see what happens. Hey, Martin. Did you just become a member again for 2 months? That's nice. Thank you so much. And how are you doing, Martin? It's not good weather to cycle at the moment. Hello, Ivan. Thank you for joining us. Oh, it's a milestone. Is that an option you get? That's kind of cool. Yeah, it's really bad weather here in the Netherlands. We got the leftovers of the storms that went all over the world and a lot of rain. But what can you do? Ivan, I keep forgetting where you are. Okay, cool. Cool, Martin. Interesting. So yeah, let's have a little chat for about 5 minutes. Oh yeah, you're from the Ukraine. I knew it was in Eastern Europe. And is that where you're living now as well, Ivan? And how are things there? Without getting too political. Um, I had a birthday today, my older brother's birthday, but we left early before the crazy party started. We're not party people anymore, Samantha and I. Oh, and now we recorded a members video, Samantha and I. So that's going to be fun. Wow, it's pretty quiet. 15 people. Ah, good to hear. Good to hear, Ivan. I hope it all be sorted. Yeah, it does look a little blurry. Mm-hmm. I don't know how I can fix this. Okay. Filters. No, I don't think the lens is dirty, Samantha. I hope this fixed it. Because I don't know what to do at this moment. Did you remove the face on the blurry background thing? Honestly, Samantha, I don't know what you mean. But isn't it fixed now? Oh, and since it's a new month, I can give away memberships. Yep. So here's the first 5 memberships. Let's see who it is this month. Equity. Hey, he used to be really loyal. Carmen we've seen before. Eddie Congress we've seen before. Hefty Metal we've seen before. Miami Pal I haven't seen. Well, better? Okay, I'm gonna give away another 5 memberships. Let's see who it is now. Daniel Moral Alonso. Patrick Lightforce. Long live Lauren. Joris Ros. Jalex. Hey! The Lonely Cyclist also gave away 5 memberships. Thanks, Martin. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Samantha, this means a lot more people will see the special video I made for members. And I also noticed that Hank was there. Hello, Hank. I haven't started with the banter yet. Okay. Oh, that's right, Martin. You said you would do this. Samantha, what's wrong? You're saying darn it. See, I can see myself on the TV screen here, and it looks blurred. Not blurred to me anymore. So it looks fine. It's a bit close. Okay. Right, guys, I'm going to start with the content now. We've got all the memberships over. And let's discuss some Formula One news. Let's start with the Massa court case. And I'll start with a poll about this. Is Massa right to sue FOM for 2008? Yes. No. So I'll give you my opinion. Over the years, a lot of fan groups, fan bases have complained that things are fishy with the FIA and FOM, right? In the time of, I don't know, Senna versus Prost, we had a French president of the FIA, Balestre, and, you know, in some circumstances, it looked like he was favoring Prost. I'd like to think that if somebody close to Balestre or, you know, documentation came around saying that it was official that Balestre was favoring Prost, then I'd like something to be done about it. Now, if we take that to 2008, Bernie Ecclestone has admitted in an interview, because that man always talks too much, that he and Max Mosley knew about the fraudulent race with Crashgate, and they specifically sat on this information until the prize ceremony had been, to not bring the sport in disrepute and not having to deal with a championship that was flawed. And now it's all coming back because of what Bernie Ecclestone has said. But we don't want any fraud in Formula One. So if somebody admits to that kind of thing, then I'd like to see that tackled. And if that means that Felipe Massa is getting awarded a ton of money as a punishment for what the FIA and FOM had done that time, then I think it's all fair. Now, a lot of times with this case, people are saying like, "Oh, well, it's opening up a can of worms," because if you do something about 2008, we need to do something about 2021 as well. Now, in my opinion, 2021 was dealt with after the race, and then even dealt with after that when the reports came out. And it's debatable if Michael Masi made a huge mistake, because he did have overriding authority according to the regulations, and the clerk of the course was agreed to do whatever he did to get that last lap. So yeah, But even if Michael Masi had made a huge error by letting that race go on the way he did, um, it still wouldn't be fraud. Yeah. Now, if Michael Masi was to do an interview a few years from now, and he says, "Hey, I got a phone call from Greg Maffei, the CEO of the FOM at the time," and Greg Maffei said, um, "You have to give them that last lap. You can't finish this season um, under a safety car. It would be disastrous for the sport. Do whatever you have to do to get that race going again." If that sort of evidence would come out, then I think Lewis Hamilton and Mercedes have every right to go to court for that result, to fight it. But as it stands, AD21 is sorted and dealt with, and it's fine. Unless new evidence comes out. And this is what happened in 2008 as well. If Bernie Ecclestone had only kept his mouth shut, then he wouldn't be in this situation. The man is like 91 years old and he's sitting there in a court having to answer. And it's kind of lame that Bernie Ecclestone and the lawyers of the FOM say, yeah, it's Michael, or what do you call him? Felipe Massa destroyed his own chances by being outperformed by Lewis Hamilton, because at the end of the season it was only 1 point that Lewis won it with, you know, after a race that Massa won dominantly. So yeah, how they performed that season is irrelevant to the fraudulent race and what needs to be done by that. Now, I don't know what the procedure is for a fraudulent race. I've heard that Terrell committed fraud a few years earlier with their cars, and that those few races were taken out of the championship or something. But yeah, it's not a normal procedure. Right, so I'm just going to read a few tweets here, or tweets, comments. Hank says Piastri to Ferrari, maybe after 26. We'll talk about that later because I haven't heard that. Ivan says, in my honest opinion, in 2008, it was a season when McLaren and Ferrari competed who makes more mistakes. It's not Lewis who won, it was Felipe who lost. Right. According to Tactical Rab, Russell has shown interest, or at least that was his clickbait title for last video. Okay, yeah, we can talk about Ferrari and George Russell as well. I was supporting Ferrari and Massa, and I was extremely upset when Hamilton passed Glock, but I don't think Massa should do this stuff now. Yeah. Like, I explained why he should do it. There's a lot of reasons why he shouldn't do it either. Because, you know, he's looking like a bit of a sore loser now. But yeah. There's enough to be said for both parties. The only thing that I don't want is fraudulent stuff in Formula One, and that needs to be tackled. Oh, there's a new comment from a new guy called Timo. Timo, what is your question? Hank says Bernie let his tongue slip and has to pay up for it. Massa has a point, but the champion standings are not going to be changed. No, I don't think that's going to be changed either. The Lonely Cyclist says in 2021, the rulebook quite literally gave Masi the option to end uh, Abu Dhabi the way he did. Yeah, and they changed the any or all cars to pass the safety car. That has been changed afterwards because the way it was written down then was open for interpretation. But the rule where the race director still has overriding authority over the safety car, that hasn't been changed, so that's still going. Hank says everyone who is mildly irritated is linked to Ferrari. Even Max was a few months ago. Yeah. Okay. Timo has a question about Oscar. How come they discovered the problem with Oscar's driving style only now? What on earth were they doing in 2024 after Mexico and the USA? Hello, Eddie. How nice of you to join. Well, what I've heard about Oscar's driving style is that he's very good when the track has lots of grip. Then he can drive consistent and get the most out of the car. But when there's a lack of grip and the driving style needs to be a little bit more gentle, then he struggles. Lando Norris had the same problem for a while, but yeah, he adapted his driving style to the MCL 39, and he's doing much better now. But I don't know what McLaren did about Oscar's problem in slippery conditions. They probably thought that he that as time went by that he would get over it. I don't know. And there's Fibbit a bit. He says if you switch positions in 2021 and Hamilton would have passed Max in the last round, the Orange Army would have lynched Masi. Well, it's interesting to think about that. I personally think that the position Max was in, if he was in front with hard tires, not being able to pit, he most likely would have defended a lot better and not get past in turn 5. And most likely he would have taken him out by accident and won the championship that way. And that would have led to just as much protest and people not being happy. But yeah, that's not the way it went. Hank says, according to Peter Windsor, Piastri is driving unnatural now. His style was much more like Max and Charles. Okay. I haven't really delved into, driving styles and stuff too much. I saw Aldas had a video explaining it, but I don't always fancy watching Aldas videos. I do watch F1 Unchained. But yeah, my brain is just like a sieve. Stuff comes in and it just it drops out straight away. So yeah, I don't remember everything all that well, unfortunately. So, what's another topic? Yes, Lewis Hamilton. Lewis Hamilton has been sending documents to Ferrari to fix the car and the problems within Ferrari itself. Now, these Italians, they're very proud people. They've been doing it for 75 years. And they're probably looking at the results of Lewis Hamilton. And even though he has 7 championships, they're not accepting it, or a certain part of Ferrari is not accepting the criticism Lewis Hamilton is giving Ferrari. It's a bit like Sebastian Vettel interfering with everything when he was driving for Ferrari. Like, Vettel also took the car completely apart and all the systems and everything they did. And they got tired of Sebastian Vettel as well. And this is kind of what's happening with Lewis Hamilton. And I think it's, that group, the group that is not so happy with Lewis Hamilton anymore. And maybe they weren't happy with Lewis Hamilton in the first place because they liked Carlos Sainz. So they bring out this news all the time. Yes. So when Oliver Behrman has a really good race, like last race in Mexico, and he finished 4th, then all of a sudden these stories come out that Lewis Hamilton is not going to get a contract for 2027, and it's going to be Behrman. And then we hear that Ferrari is eyeing George Russell in case somebody leaves the Ferrari team. And then at the same time, you're reading about Charles Leclerc saying he's completely committed to Ferrari because it was his dream to become competitive with Ferrari and win a championship there. And I think all this is happening to put pressure on Ferrari to, get rid of Lewis Hamilton or make him shut up and drive the car better. Because you can say one thing about Charles Leclerc. In how many years is that? In the 7 seasons he's been driving for Ferrari. Let me see. 2019. No. Yeah. 2019, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. 7th season. This is his 7th season. He's been driving cars that were up and down. Like in 2019, he had a car with the fuel fraud thing. And then they took that away and the car was shitty for 2020. And then in 2021, it got a little bit better. And then in 2022, he had a great car and he fought for the championship for a bit. And then in 2023, they dropped back a bit. And then he still won races. And then in 2024, he won races and the team was nearly constructors champion. And then they changed the car all over again. And now the car is shitty again, and it goes from understeer to oversteer, and still he manages to get the most out of it. And I think he scored like 5 or 6 podiums this season, where his teammate scored none. So Lewis Hamilton and Ferrari has not been a good marriage so far. Something I've predicted all along. And you can see people getting disgruntled with his behavior. And I think the pressure is going to be, bigger in the coming months and next season. So, let me see what's happening in the comments. Not very many. The Lonely Cyclist says, I bet Lewis just has sent them a copy of Newey's How to Build a Car. Laughing my ass off. I think they read it. Hank says, Max's hard tires were much fresher than Hamilton's were, so Max would have had a fighting chance over one lap. Had Hamilton won it, the Dutch fans would have been very annoyed. Yeah, you're still talking about Abu Dhabi. Hank says, Hamilton claims he sent several documents to Ferrari. Ferrari is not confirming this. Yeah, but would he be lying? I think Lewis Hamilton fancies himself as a technical guy, and you know, him having been at Mercedes for so long in the successful time, he thinks he knows how to run a team as well. So yeah, I don't find it unlikely for him. Um, Disgruntled is unhappy, but yeah, you can Google it. Um, yeah, I've I I I have no reason not to believe that he sent documents because he did it at Mercedes as well, and that was confirmed. Okay, let me see what people say in the poll. Is Massa right to sue FOM for 2008? 73% say yes, 27% say no. Okay. I say yes, but only to make sure that kind of fraud never happens again. If people say, um, if people know about a fraudulent race, you know, people in power, they should do something about it immediately and not let it sit until after somebody wins the championship, because that's not fair. Okay, guys, do we have another topic? I can go to my Twitter, see what's alive there. Oh yeah, we can talk about Red Bull postponing the decision what they're going to do with the 4 drivers they have in Red Bull right now, or in the Red Bull fold, you know, Red Bull and Racing Bulls. And I think we can make a poll. Who should be Max's new teammate in 2026? Tsunoda, Hadjar, Okay. So the question is, who should be next to Max in 2026? Are we sticking with Tsunoda? Are we gonna go for fresh blood with Isaac Hadjar? Are we gonna put Liam Lawson back in, or are we gonna have an experienced older driver? Now, I put that option in because that's my option. I think if we can find an older, experienced driver like Nico Hulkenberg that has a bit of a similar driving style to Max, that can handle a pointy front end, yes, someone that hasn't got a full career ahead of him, but a great career behind him, to put next to Max. And then if things don't really work out the way it should, then that guy doesn't get damaged, and mentally he can stay in the right place as well. Because Perez kind of crumbled, Gasly crumbled, Albon crumbled, Liam Lawson only got 2 races, but he definitely crumbled, and Tsunoda is also crumbling. So yeah, like Red Bull has been asking Alex Albon to come back, but he said no because he's doing great at Williams. But that's a good option as well. You know, if they improve the car somewhat and Albon can give it like his own setup, then I think, you know, he can do fairly well in the Red Bull. Another driver would be Nico Hulkenberg, because I've read that he kind of has, well, not as extreme, but he has the same driving style as Max, and he's very experienced and he's very headstrong, which is also very important. I personally don't think it's a good idea to put Isaac Hadjar in there, because we'll have another guy who only has 1 year of experience in Formula One. This kid is always screaming already when things don't go his way. And yes, next year will be new regulations. It'll be new for Max as well. But seeing how well he does on sim races and all the different types of cars he's been driving, Max is going to be on top of that new car, you know, during the testing, whereas Hadjar will take a lot longer. And then if the bad results come, then he might get replaced and the kid's career will be down the drain or damaged. And I don't want that for Isaac Hadjar. So, yeah, that's my opinion. But I want to hear your thoughts as well. Right. Hey, there's another Dutch name, Arjan Zuidervaart. Hello, Arjan. Next year, the car is totally new designed. A young driver like Hadjar should be able to grow in the new design before development pushes it to the oversteery way Max likes it. Well, that's actually a good point, because Perez was always really good at the start of the season when the car was very neutral, and then with Max's setup, you know, it became that oversteery thing that none of the drivers could handle. So, yeah, you've got a point there. But yeah, like, if Hadjar starts performing badly after the summer break, then it would still not be good for his confidence and his career. So it's still very hard. Ivan says Hadjar must be casting spells not to be selected by Dr. Marco for that infamous second Red Bull seat. Well, actually, Ivan, people keep asking him this. And first he was like, no, I don't want to. But then he also said this thing that Arjan Zuidervaart said, that the car's new for everybody. So, you know, he thinks he can get used to it and then he can perform. So he's not afraid of it anymore. But he wouldn't want to drive the car this year. So, yeah. Hank says, a hard pull. Tsunoda seems to be doing somewhat better. With postponing Tsunoda is giving breathing room. Yes. Well, there's another thing that I just thought of. Max didn't want Checo to be sacked. That was the first thing. Because he wants stability in the Red Bull team. And sacking drivers is not good for stability. And he knows that the car had its flaws, which he wanted to see fixed. He doesn't want drivers to be kicked out. But they kicked Perez out, paid him like $20 million, and he was out. Okay, then Liam Lawson came in, and yeah, it wasn't his decision, but yeah, okay, Liam Lawson it is. Okay, the car still had lots of problems. Liam Lawson could not gel with it, and he qualified P20 on 3 occasions, I think, because it was a sprint race as well. But anyway, yeah, he scored no points, so he got replaced, and Max was furious about that. He was really, really cross, because, yeah, it was the car that was the problem that needed to be fixed, and not the drivers. So then Yuki came in, and he gets along. He gets along with everybody in the Red Bull fold. So, yeah, he's doing everything that he needs to do with Yuki now. And I think if you leave it up to Max, then Yuki still has that seat for next year, just for stability reasons. And if they create a good car, like the 2023 car, then there's no reason why Yuki can't be getting at least podiums once in a while. So that's probably his way of thinking. Ang says Hadjar could be the next big one. There is, however, no clue to know for sure. Yeah. Um. No, that's the problem. You don't know for sure. But like, um, when Daniel Ricciardo left, they put in Gasly way too quickly because he only had like one season in Toro Rosso. Then within 6 races, he was kicked out, and then Albon was promoted too quickly because I think he started that season. Then he was kicked out for Perez, and Perez was an experienced driver, good midfield driver, and most of the time he was just as slow as Albon, but there were peaks where he was winning races and getting podiums, and that's what they wanted from him, and that's why Red Bull was second in the standings, and they won the constructors twice as well. So, yeah. Martin, you won't believe this, but your three messages just popped up. I wasn't skipping them on purpose. Honestly, those comments that I'm going to read out now, they weren't there. We had an older, experienced driver at Red Bull Racing. He ended out in Q1 like 10 times. You're talking about Perez? But that was because the car had its flaws. With the new regulations, I would like to see Yuki a bit longer. New rules, levels the drivers to a common starting point. Yeah, that's also a thing. If the new regulations put everybody a little bit closer to each other, then he should be okay. Although I do think that sometimes a lot of the DNA of the RB21 will be taken into the RB22 as well, and that's why they keep on developing this year to take things with them into the new regulations. Okay, the lonely cyclist. I've fixed the problem now, but it's yeah. I don't know what happened, but these messages weren't there. Okay. Let me quit the poll here. Okay. Who should drive for racing bulls? Jar and blood. Lawson and down. Other options. Okay, Polish Eddie, you would like to see Hadjar in Red Bull. Well, I I put my favorite option for Racing Bulls first, which is Hadjar and Lindblad. Lindblad is the new prodigy. He's in F2 now, but F2 with these shitty engines, um, they're supposed to be all the same, but for some reason, some teams get better engines or something. That's something that's happening in F2. But my personal opinion would be, Max and an older experienced driver in Red Bull, and Hadjar and Lindblad in Racing Bulls, and Yuki Tsunoda can go to Aston Martin, and Liam Lawson can go to DTM or something. He can do something else. Yuki Tsunoda had 5-6 years in Formula One already. I don't think he would have been there if it wasn't for Honda. I don't think he would have lasted long in Formula One without Honda. And Liam Lawson, all I see him do is crash with people, and there's very rarely a very good result. Like, I've never seen Liam Lawson get into a shitty situation and then save himself out of it and, drive himself into the points anyway, despite, hardship to overcome. Like, well, let me give an example. Max Verstappen in Singapore in 2015, he was in his debut season, and his car stalled, and he just kept driving and driving and driving when he got going again. And thanks to a safety car or a red flag, he was allowed back on, but he kept overtaking cars, and then he finished P7 or P8. That sort of performance, that's what I want to see from a driver like Lawson. And Lawson is like 23. He keeps arguing with all the drivers around him, but besides him being unpleasant to everybody, I don't see him performing very well. But maybe I'm just a bit harsh. But yeah, he had a chance, and it's not working out. So, okay, let me see what the people in the chat say. Hank says, Perez being a good midfield driver where good performances were celebrated like victories, while in a top team, those performances were demanded every GP weekend. Yes, but Perez, for instance, in Baku last year, he was going for a win or a podium, and then he crashed with Sainz. But at least he was in that fight. We've never seen Yuki, that far ahead. And yeah, I think if Red Bull fixed the issues that they have been fixing this season, then Perez would have slowly gotten better as well, just like Yuki is getting better. So maybe in hindsight, it wasn't such a good idea to let him go. Ivan says, for V-Carb, I would leave it as it is, which is Hadjar and Lawson. Okay. Arjan Zuidervaart says Lawson and Lindblad in Racing Bulls. So you want to say like Lawson can be the measure for Lindblad. If Lindblad outperforms Lawson, then Lindblad is obviously a legend. And if he's just as good as Lawson, then, he's decent. And if he's just not quick enough to beat Lawson, then he might not be the best driver out there. Okay. Polish Eddie says Lindblad to Red Bull with Lawson and Hadjar. Wait, Lindblad to Racing Bulls with Lawson and Hadjar with Max in Red Bull. And you can go away then. Yeah. Let me see. The Lonely Cyclist says Hadjar and Lindworm for me as well. Future Red Bull racing drivers when Max and Yuki leave. Okay. Fibbit a bit says leave everything as it is. And everybody agreeing with Polish Eddie. Lawson is a wrecking ball. LOL. So I wouldn't be surprised if he gets the boot. And there's a person called Comrade. Are you Russian? Comrade. Just keep Hadjar and Lawson for another year. Lindblad still needs another year in F2 anyway. Yeah, that could also work. And Polish Eddie says Lawson really meant it when he said he's not there to make friends. He hasn't made a single one yet. No, that's true. But he also said that he was there to win, and that hasn't happened either. Lawson did when he was thrown in unexpected. He seems to feel the pressure. Yeah, I agree the car was the problem. The British press, however, put a lot of pressure on Red Bull, as usual. Yes, it was very unfair that, Red Bull always got the criticism of kicking drivers out too soon. And then Perez didn't perform for quite a long time. And everybody was pushing Red Bull to kick out Perez. So, yeah. Finishing this poll as well. Right. So, I think I saw somebody that wanted to talk about papaya rules. Okay. The papaya rules. Drivers are allowed to fight each other, but not allowed to touch each other. And when something happens on track, then they should... they want to neutralize that by fair decisions. I think in the last 4 races, in the 4 races coming up... Hey, Tanvir! In the 4 races coming up, with 1 point of difference between Piastri and Norris, I think this is impossible. So what we're going to see in the last 4 races, in the last 2 sprint races, is that when somebody gets ahead because of a shitty pit stop, fuck you, not my problem. If they pit somebody first, and I don't know, if they pit the second driver first because he's under pressure because of a car behind him, and he accidentally overcuts his teammate, then the driver in front is not going to give up that position anymore. Also, Oscar is getting a lot of stick lately for his last 4 races, right? I think he's gonna want to take away that, momentum from Lando Norris. So he's gonna fight Lando Norris very hard. So yeah, the best option would be if Max gets pole twice in Brazil, and the 2 McLaren drivers will be behind him, preferably with a Mercedes and a Ferrari in between Max and the McLarens as well. But imagine if they started at P4 and P5, Oscar and Norris, and they're fighting each other for the championship, then yeah, somebody's gonna DNF, or both of them. It's gonna be so exciting, and I don't think McLaren can keep controlling that, because being this close to the end of the season, yeah, they both can smell the finish line. They're both in for a shot. Yeah, they're gonna go for it. So yeah, I hope I can make another 3 videos about the papaya rules not working and things exploding, because this is what we need. I need it as a content creator as well. By the way, my October month was the best month revenue-wise I ever had. So thank you all very much for watching my content, and the super thanks and the memberships, and yeah, just watching and liking and commenting, because it all helps the algorithm. So thank you all very much. Okay, let me see what else has been said. So I said hi to Tanvir. You're late, yes. Hank says Lando ruined papaya rules when those were still needed. The World Constructors Championship wasn't confirmed yet. Yes, that's true. Arion says Max needs a Sao Paulo GP like 2024. Yes, everybody's looking at the weather already, hoping that it's going to be a red race again. But then, you know, Red Bull got the setup wrong in England at Silverstone, and that wasn't a great wet weather race. So yeah, um, we don't know. We don't know how the cars are going to be set up. I just hope that we get a three-way fight in the last race, and all close to each other, like 7 points difference or something. That would be so exciting. Oh, thank you, Martin from the Lonely Cyclist. Yeah, if you watch on your mobile, you can slide it and then I give hype. Always nice. Guys, did you see my performance on what do you call it? Oh yeah, the Lollipop Man comics. Did you guys notice that I was one of the stewards? I think I have a picture. I'm gonna show it. I think this might be it. Yes. Yeah, so Hans, the track limit. That was me. Okay, guys. Well, everybody watch. Everybody hasn't seen it yet. Watch the Lollipop Man comic video about the Mexican Grand Prix. I'll tell you exactly how it went. I'm a patron on Lollipop Man's Patreon. It's like being a member, but on a different platform. And he sends out emails there, and sometimes he sends us, director's notes of stuff, how they produced the video. And every once in a while, he sends a request for people to do voices. And the last time I missed out, but this week, he sent it out, and I was just done recording a video. So I had my microphone, and I got the script, and I pressed record. And yeah, I did the script, saying like, wow, we had 16 incidents in three corners. How do we investigate all that? And yeah, I put that all together and then transformed it into an MP3, and I emailed it to Mr. Lollipop Man, and he sent me a message back saying, "Thanks, Wimbo, we're going to use it." And I was as happy as a pig in shit. I said to my wife, I said to Samantha, like, I'm 48 years old, but I feel like I'm 16. Yeah, it's one of my highlights of my Formula One. No, my YouTube career. So yeah, everybody that hasn't seen it, please watch it. One of my proudest moments. Hans, the track limit. And that brings us pretty much to the end. The Lonely Cyclist says, to be fair, Wim, even if you hadn't made the post, I'm sure I would have recognized it. And Polish Eddie says, how many takes did you do it in? Did you just do first take and send it in? Yeah, well, I had like 4 sentences, and I think 3 of them went in one go, and then one of them I had to do again, and then I cut it all together, nicely split apart, and I sent it to him, and it was fine. So, yes. I don't have any polls left, yeah? No? No. Well, Polish Eddie, you're calling it my big breakout moment. As a YouTube content creator, I've worked with some really cool people. You know, like Tomo, which shirt I'm wearing. And I work with Law VS, which is a big creator. F1 Unchained, he's also hitting a 100k soon, subscribers, which is the silver play button. That's a big moment. We see F1 Yapaton in my chat every once in a while, so that's nice. Yeah, I've met a lot of nice, friendly YouTubers thanks to content creation. Something I'm very grateful for, because there's always something you can learn. So, but yeah, on that note, Ivan says, I hope there's going to be a lot of roasting next stream after the Brazilian sprint. Yes, I haven't looked at the times yet, but I'll definitely be here to talk about the Brazilian weekend. I haven't got any ideas yet about what the next video is going to be about. Did you guys all see my video about the Lando Norris girlies and Team LH? It's not a banger video, but it's just something I wanted to get off my chest, you know? So, I thought it was funny and interesting. Right, everybody. Take care now. Doei doei.